Welcome once again to the program Transforming Lives One at a Time. We're coming to you from scenic Tobago in the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Well, on the program today, as promised, we will be doing part two with a power couple who has been transforming lives in their sphere of influence. They are the hosts of one of the most prominent radio talk shows in Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm so happy to have them join me again today. Eye on Dependency is a live radio talk show that was conceptualized by recovering addict Garth Sinclair, who teamed up with communication specialist Natasha Nunez to develop the idea. Using the stories of recovery as its foundation, has covered all aspects of drug use, abuse, and treatment. The program currently airs on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on I-95.5 FM radio station. The goal of the program is to ensure that every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago can recognize the signs and symptoms of substance abuse and is knowledgeable about the risks associated with the disease in all its forms. Over its 20-year history, Iron Dependency has sought to emphasize the clearly defined link between crime and the abuse of trafficking of drugs, alcohol, and to explore indigenous solutions to the root causes of crime. Let me welcome founders of Eye on Dependency, Mr. Garth Sinclair and his wife, Natasha Nunez. Welcome back to Transforming Lives One at a Time, the Part 2 edition.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. Pleasure having you again. Well, Garth and Natasha, in part one, we went in depth into your experience, Garth, on how your life was transformed after battling addiction and how your turnaround started impacting lives. I want us to touch on some of the realities of addiction that many persons, sometimes just looking from the outside cannot see. Real talk.
The first part of it all is that we need to clear this up with people that addiction or substance abuse is not a moral failing. It's a disease. And that can stem from many different areas. Let's start with predisposition and low self-esteem, all of these things, growing up in a dysfunctional environment, your geographical location. And let's look at a simple one. If in your family line you had a grandfather or grandmother or mother or father who were alcoholics, or there are mental ill health issues in the family, some of the offsprings will take up the DNA and become affected by it. So that first drink or that first smoke opens a door that already has the ingredients inside that will eventually come to the fore. So,
Right.
let's get that plain. It's just what you see, the end result is not because the person does not have any ambition, or let me tell you, it's a very painful exercise. People think that, well, go and look for a job and stop begging and stop, look how you're destroying your life, and the person already trapped. So it's not an easy thing to walk away from. For me, going to prison was my wake up call. It's called the nuclear blast.
Okay.
And because I tried rehab, and mind you, all of this time I saw my family suffer, my mother especially. She very promising soldier with a promising future ahead of me in the military. And after being introduced to crack cocaine, all of that changed. I didn't want it to change because I tried to fight and balance both of them with my now my allegiance to this rock, this crack rock, and being a soldier, a disciplined soldier. Eventually, one took over and took control totally. So try as I may to fight it off, I couldn't. And eventually, that that need for the drug grew stronger and stronger and stronger every single day. And when I was discharged, and of mind you, I saw a lot of sailors and soldiers got discharged before me, and that still didn't wake me up. So when I was eventually discharged, I went back home and it just continued from there pace. Now I have uh, someone to deal my mother who I could actually take advantage of because now I'm a trained soldier addicted to
Yes.
crack cocaine. So I tried rehab, not for me so much because my mother was in pain and she insisted that I go or she would put me out. And so I tried it first time and I stayed. I went to Cora and I stayed there for the 3 month duration. And as soon as I returned to my environment, I relapsed. And it got worse than the first time. So once that happened, so if I was stealing from her like 3 times a day, now it increased to 6 times.
Wow.
And yeah, and it didn't matter because she was crying, but my addiction was stronger than my love and emotion for her.
Understood.
You know,
So what you're actually saying is that here it is, your life was literally spiraling out of control, and it's like you couldn't do anything about it. You are seeing your life going down the drain, but yet this influence was so powerful that you could not have overcome, at
yeah,
least on your own.
on my own, it didn't matter to me. I tried any meetings, I really tried, but that I was already hooked, and dependent on this substance that lasted a few seconds doing it, and that's what made the that drug more dangerous. Uh,
Yes.
it's people think you get high off of crack cocaine. You will get high off of powder cocaine. That's the one that you snort. But once you reach the crack cocaine, then that is a feeling that lasts for 10 to 15 seconds, 20 seconds for the most, depends on the grade of the crack. And from the time you're done, there's a crash and there's a need for more again. So
Yes.
that's what makes it so expensive and what makes the addict so resilient to get it because there's this craving, there's this thirst that cannot be ignored.
Of
You know?
course, because I would have heard parents, family members say on numerous occasions that once they have a family member who is an addict, they would go to the lengths and breadth to get whatever they need. They would sell their gas tanks, they will sell their clothing, they will sell their shoes. So it's a very uncomfortable situation in the family setting where, as it were, you have to sleep with like one eye open.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Nobody's safe. And especially when you have a big I saw when I started with my interventions, I went to one home and I saw a burglar proof around a fridge. I've never seen that before in my life. And when someone can actually call a fabricator and to their home with a welding plant and put, you know, wrought iron around a fridge, you're supposed to know how serious that addiction
Yes,
was because
yes,
they were stealing every single thing. And that's the reality of it because I describe that feeling or that situation as walking in through a dark room and there's this large hand that grabs you with both hands at your side and
yes.
pulls you there. Or it's like swallowing a spirit that would not leave. And that
Wow.
spirit now tells you what to do.
Yes,
So you and no one and nothing is safe. Um and it all starts from the home first before we go out looking for it. So if I have a daughter and at the time I am thirsty and she's sleeping and the same gold chain and earrings I would buy for her or little bracelet, while she's sleeping I would flip that off
yes, yes.
because it's a low hanging fruit
Of
and
course.
it's easier than going out there and looking to ask someone for money or trying to steal something. So the home pays the price first. and when once everything is stolen from the home, then we go out and start looking to beg, borrow, or steal.
Of course. And then, of course, you spoke about the environment, because we know that the environment plays a very, very critical role in that you went, you got help, but when you came back into the said environment, the same people around, the same situations, it's like a relapse.
Yes, and when you have people who don't, when you have friends who don't understand your disease that you have, they will tell you, because remember when you left, you were looking all scrawny and like who the cat dragged in kind of look.
Yes.
But when you go to the rehab and you fatten up and come out looking nice and fat and everything, and they would welcome you back and tell you, take a drink now, boy. You're
Yes.
looking good. And that's the first mistake that,
Of
that they
course.
make. Because once I take that drink, it opens that door, and I will, of course, go back looking for my drug of choice.
Right, right. Well, I'm so glad that you're able to speak as it were in layman terms, so that the average individual could understand how this operates. And sometimes when you think that you are in control, really in a situation like this as an addict, you really have no control over your own life. And that's a very precarious position to be in, you
Yeah.
know. But right now, I want to bring Natasha into the mix.
I can speak a little bit to what Garth was saying to
Yes,
add
yes. Give
to
us
the
your your
realities
your take on that.
of addiction when it comes to the family. I think, and this also ties into the stigma aspect of it. When you have family members who are also in denial about the fact that their relative is ill,
Yeah.
they will try to hide the fact that the person is ill. They will make excuses for them, and they will continue to enable the behavior, right? The use of the drug. They will give them money, they will give them a place to stay, they will like excuse the behavior, whatever
Yes.
negative behavior that they are exhibiting. And that obviously takes a toll on the individual, because
Yes.
you, as a person in denial about your loved one's illness, you are also becoming ill alongside that person, and not recognizing that you cannot pray this thing away. You cannot send them to Obeahman and let them throw something on them,
Ah,
and they will automatically stop using. A lot of people feel like this is not a disease of the brain, but something that can be spirited away, literally.
okay.
Um, and persons who have a substance use disorder need treatment. They need usually residential treatment, which unfortunately is not as accessible as it should be to everybody. But even if you manage to get the person to treatment, when they return to your home, there are also things that you need to understand about how to enable their recovery, and enable their positive behavior. So you cannot continue to do the same things that you were doing when this person was
Right.
using. I think
Right.
that is a reality that a lot of families are trying to
Yes.
grapple with now.
And Natasha, as you said that, it's very interesting that we are describing rather this as a disease, because, for example, when you go to the hospital and the doctor says that, okay, you have high blood pressure, you are going to take medication for that high blood pressure. They say you have diabetes or you have cancer. You are going to treat it with a sense of urgency. But many times we see the plight of addicts as, okay, well, you just decided you want to choose this kind of life, and they just push you aside, as it were. So it's very interesting that we allow the public to know, the general populace, the society, to recognize that just as diabetes is a disease, just as mental health is a disease, also this problem, substance abuse, It's also a disease that needs to be treated. And many times we look for a quick fix to get it done, or we hide away the relative because, we are ashamed, we are afraid of what persons would say. But we need to take this with the level of seriousness that it deserves and recognize that just as any other disease, this is something that needs to be treated. Just give us your
Absolutely.
take on that.
Absolutely. And the difference with this disease is that the person who is experiencing it needs to recognize that they have a problem. That's the major hook
Yes,
with it. Or um the kind of social the social requirements or determinants for whether somebody accesses treatment or not depends on where they are in the progress of the disease. It is a chronic disease, meaning that you will live with it for the rest of your life. But in order for you to get well, you have to acknowledge that, yes, I do have a problem. I do have this disorder, and I need to do what is required to have it treated, and also to recognize that this is an issue for me to fix. I
yes,
can't wait on anybody else to fix it for me. So it has that it's a bit more difficult in the sense
it
that a
is. It
physical
is.
disease, you can probably see the effects and see the symptoms more readily. But for something like substance abuse, it really requires the individual to realize that his or her life is beyond their control and they
Yes.
need help.
Yes, very well said. Well, at this time, we're going to take our first short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. You're viewing Transforming Lives one at a time.
If you're wondering where to find top-tier quality tiles and products to refurbish or renovate your wall, floor, or pool, well, your worry is over. Come to D-Cell's Tile and Ceiling Center, Store Bay Local Road, opposite the Bonnecourt Primary School, Tobago, where you will find porcelain, mosaic, and ceramic tiles of the highest quality guaranteed. D-Cell's Tile and Ceiling Center also stocks thinset, grout, tile cutters, and yes, windows. Plus, a friendly smile and service that's second to none awaits you. So forget the hassle and get all the quality tiles you need right here in Tobago at D-Cell's Tile and Ceiling Center. Call us today at 460-8802, 639-8281. Opens Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m.
Do you need electrical and plumbing supplies from construction to finish? Then check out Voodoo's Enterprises Limited, Milford Road, Canaan, Tobago. Get LED bulbs and fixtures, septic tanks, water pumps, laminate flooring, Prescott power tools, and so much more. Open Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. Call 280-2050 or 660-4970. Voodoo's Enterprises Limited.
Hi, I am Dianne, host of Transforming Lives One at a Time, and I would like to introduce you to our brand new segment, Good Vibes, Good News. And this is where you have the opportunity to highlight your good news. You can send your 90 seconds video to our WhatsApp number 868-701-2099. That's 868-701-2099. Let's hear some of the good news that we never hear about. Good vibes, good news. Inspiring hope. Celebrating wins. Truly grateful.
Welcome back to the program, Transforming Lives One at a Time. I'm speaking with Garth and Natasha from the radio program Eye on Dependency. Well, Garth and Natasha, I want us to talk about that defining moment when an addict comes to the realization that he or she needs urgent help and, of course, intervention. When that individual reaches out to you, what are the next steps?
Well, the intervention comes before the realization. The intervention is the last step in getting the person to understand that there's a problem. So let's say if the person lives with a family And the family, I've always said that once a family contacts us, it's because they tried everything and it didn't work.
Yes.
So the final step with that is an intervention. An intervention is not a confrontation, what they call a carefrontation. That confrontation requires or needs family members, people
Okay.
that the person suffering with disease respects. So
Okay.
whether it be son, daughter, wife, if there's one, or mother, father, uncle, brother, they all gather and they invite the person to come to a family meeting, or just sometimes you have to trick them into saying, look, come check me, I have something for you. And when they reach there, they will see family members gathered.
Okay.
Now, it's, as I said, it's a carefrontation, which means people will either write what they have to say because they've spent a few years looking at this family member deteriorating day after day. They
Yes.
try their best to get the person to understand, they wouldn't listen. And in the meantime, they have to pay. If they get arrested, they have to go and bail them out.
Yeah.
If they win somebody's money, people coming by their home threatening them. So that by that time they would have spent a humongous amount of money or lost a lot of personal items.
Right.
um, and the person would have lost their job and everything, and just a menace to the family. As you said earlier, you have to be sleeping with one eye open. Every time you hear a noise, you jump. Every time the phone rings, you fighting who's going to be on the other end. So you bring the person, and everybody sits in a circle, and they one by one tell them, "Look, we tired of seeing this. No, an intervention must have an ending, which sometimes most families don't go to the end. The end result is after that, you let the person know we all want you to go to rehab. We have a bag packed for you. We have an interventionist here who can take you to a rehab. Are you ready to go?
Right.
You could sit and listen, and like I said, an intervention could last 2 minutes or 2 hours. Um, because the person could get up and say, look, I don't want to hear all this other talking, and walk out after everybody's gathered and settled. The person, oh, so that's what you called me here for? I don't want to talk this morning, huh? And they're gone.
Right.
Sit and listen and still not agree to go to treatment. Now, after that, they're supposed to be tough love. If the person does not agree, then all the family members will say, look, there's your bag, take your bag and leave. That is something most family cannot do.
Okay.
So because now, which means you're telling the person, don't come back here, go live by yourself, because we cannot see you or sit back and watch you destroy your life without it. We cannot do it any longer
Yes.
because we've seen and went through enough with you. So it's either you leave, but sometimes families don't go to that, but that's the tough love part of it.
Of
Now,
course.
if the person acknowledges on their own, which is easier, that's half the job done there. So
Yes.
I come to you and I say, look, I have a problem. I need help. I want to go to rehab. That's the hardest part done there. So now you make arrangements for the person to go to a rehab facility. Once the family has the finance now to let that happen, then they can go through with taking the person to a rehab facility, because a rehab facility would not take the individual if the individual is not willing and ready. If they're forced to be there, the
Yeah.
rehab take them. They have to be there willingly before any treatment process starts.
Of course.
Garth,
So
you
it
want
will
to
be
speak
prepared.
to the what is going on in the mind of the person with the SUD, as to how he or she comes to that realization that this, I cannot handle this on my own. How does
Yes.
that happen? Does it have to be like a traumatic event that brings them to that, or what are they thinking?
Well, yes, that's very important too. Now, when a person reaches to that stage, is either they came close to somebody killing them, or they got a serious injury that will
Okay.
keep them up for a while, or job loss, because sometimes the person trying to balance work and their habit. And
Right.
but during that time there will be a lot of absenteeism from the job, and or sick leave, taking
Of
a lot of
course.
sick leave, um, and it affects the person's job. So for some people, is like, you know,
A wake up call.
pardon?
Like a wake up call.
Yeah, or we call it a nuclear blast, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So that is what would prompt the person to
Yes.
say, look, y'all, I need help. Or you sometimes if a wife decides, I'm gone, or the family decides to use tough love and say, you leave, don't come back. And then the
Right.
person will say, now, sometimes when it reaches to that and the person realizes they're back against the wall or they painted themselves into a corner, once I paint myself into that corner and there's nowhere else to go, nothing else to steal, and I'm, I'm going to be on the street soon, I would say, all right, I need help.
I'll go. Okay.
Yes. But that is
Okay.
sometimes to please the family, not
Yes.
because I think that I really need help, but I would rather not be on the street than
Dan. Yes.
find this
Understood.
one. So,
Understood.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about drug treatment centers around the country and the kind of collaboration you have with these centers and, of course, other stakeholders that would give that added layer of support to recovering addicts. I know you would interact with other stakeholders. Let's talk a little bit about that.
I think Natasha will want to take that one.
Yes, Natasha.
Oh, well, we at our independency we do referrals. We're not a treatment facility, but we
Yes.
can refer you to an appropriate facility. We do have a working relationship with Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women. Garth sits on the board of that facility,
Okay.
and we often get our interview subjects from persons who have been to rehab and who have transitioned into either counseling or some other aspect of of education and awareness around substance abuse. But
Okay.
as I mentioned earlier, there are not nearly enough treatment facilities,
Yeah.
drug treatment facilities on the island, either on Trinidad or Tobago, that are accessible to the majority of people who have this problem, and that is something that we have been lobbying and advocating for ad
Yeah.
nauseum, especially in Tobago, because, and I think we went through that
Of
discussion on the
course.
last
Yes.
occasion, but this is really a major aspect of substance abuse education and awareness, or the what do you call it? The through line. So you have abuse, you have treatment, and then recovery. So that
Yes.
the treatment aspect of it is really important. And the lack of available residential facilities. And we do have
Yes.
outpatient facilities, but residential facilities for especially for families who are dealing with a person who has an SUD, um, who is violent, or
Yes.
who has an accompanying mental health disorder. It is really hard. It's really difficult. So we will continue to advocate for more, and especially state-run facilities where citizens will not have to pay the
Yes.
what can be an exorbitant cost for many
Of
families.
course.
We do need a state-run facility on both islands to treat with drug addiction.
Yes. Well, Garth and Natasha, we are seeking to find tangible solutions to this substance abuse problem we have, well, worldwide. Uh, in Trinidad and Tobago, in our setting, how can the private sector, the business community, and the persons within the communities help in this fight that I would say would save this generation and the next? How can the average man be a part of saving this generation?
Wow, you're talking about reinventing the wheel.
I've got
Um,
to take that one.
but first let's start with the average man in the street. Um, I remember when I was a youngster using drugs, even the pusher had a conscience because the pusher back then used to tell me, "Solia, God, you was here just a while ago, take it down now, and refused to sell me drugs." And but that does not obtain today. There are the older heads now actually encourage youngsters to come and lime on the block
Wow.
and use drugs. Now, the corporate Trinidad and Tobago must engage in a public awareness. There must be a saturation of it now. You see, just
Right.
as around Carnival time, well, I didn't see it this year, but I saw another lager being advertised ad nauseum on the national station, which is so ironic. This is our national state-owned run television. Um, and the year before, it was the alcohol beverage. Every 10 minutes, they were advertising on television.
Yes.
That has to stop. That has to stop completely, because there was a time I remember in my early recovery years. I just came back from exercising, and as I put on the television to watch news as I normally do, I saw somebody pouring a lager.
Yes.
That looked so good because I was thirsty at the time.
Of
And
course.
and I'm saying, look how this thing could just, because it hit me at the right time when I was vulnerable, when I was thirsty,
Yes.
you know. And I said, that is subliminal messaging. So what they need to do is be aware of this and understand that even though your drug that you're selling is legal, you don't need to put it in our face, you know. So they have to be mindful of that. Now, you need you need a state or you need a government to understand this and demand it, not just let it happen.
Okay.
And we don't have that. Governments come, government go. They ignore these subtle signs of encouraging people to become alcoholics or drug addicts. And that is where the state comes in. Corporate Trinidad and Tobago,
Right.
try as we may, they don't seem to be, in this state of awareness that they have a part to play in it as well. Because what Natasha and I had planned to do when we approached the Ministry of Health just recently and the National Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention Program, we saw the need to have now constant rotation of PSAs on television and ask them to sponsor it. And even the state-owned gambling institution, they do
Right.
well, because gambling too is an addiction,
Of
and
course.
and they don't see the need to partner with us so that we can have. They wouldn't lose money. They think they're going to lose money. They're not going to lose money. It just shows that we are responsible citizens, and
Right.
we selling here is addictive. So we can balance it with letting other people know, look, if you need help, you can call this number, you can call that number, and that's lacking, and
Yes.
we
Yes.
need that to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
People
Yes.
over profits all the time. I just
Yeah.
wanted
Well,
to
it's
stick
all
that in
about
there.
dollars and cents, eh? We know
No,
that.
but
We
yes,
know that.
agreed. But you must have a
Unfortunately,
balance.
unfortunately, the populace will suffer. But we know it's all about the mighty dollar. We know that. Let's not pretend. Let's not pretend.
Because if you can now have gambling on a Sunday as well, that alone should tell you
Yes.
they don't get it, you
Yes.
know. And even some people observe Lent around this time. The hell was it Lent? We gambling on a Sunday too. So somebody could leave church, while they're in church, they're probably looking at the priest and say, I wonder if Pastor
What
Man will
Mark
bless
is
the
playing.
demon.
Yes.
Or if flowers, because they're watching the flowers in the church, I wonder if
Yes.
flowers created.
So there are no more boundaries.
No more
It's just
boundaries.
we are allowed to do anything, and that's the reason why we are now facing the repercussions.
Yeah,
Because every action, you get a reaction, and
yeah.
whatever we do, at the end of the day, we will face the brunt of it. And because we have neglected certain things and we have neglected certain principles and certain morals and values, we are now facing the sad repercussions. And we're now trying to, as it were, pull back the horse after it already left.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, if we have a bar owner who, because now we can sell alcohol any day, anytime, right? And if today or tomorrow the government say, okay, now we're going to regulate the sales of the time alcohol is sold. You're going to hear the big uproar in this country.
We're gonna have turmoil.
Yeah, because now, but the irony is that when we in Canada or when we in the UK, we follow these rules without a problem.
We have
Because
to.
I mean, I've lived and worked in Canada for a while, and I can tell you when it's 12 o'clock on the dot, there's an announcement during the week that bar is going to be closed. On a weekend, it's at 2 o'clock. At quarter to 2, there's an announcement from the DJ, and he must do it that alcohol is going to be stopped, the sale of alcohol will be stopped at 2 a.m.
Right.
We don't have that here. You can drink till the sun come up here. And, so we have serious problem. And as you said, we're trying to put the genie back in the bottle or the toothpaste back in the tube. It don't happen.
Exactly. It can't happen.
No. But if the state, they run things, and if they say we are going to do this, whether you cry, you bawl, scream, we don't care about sales, and on top of that, you must now card people when they come into your compound, to your club or to your bar. You don't sell somebody alcohol unless you see their ID. I don't know when we're going to reach to that.
Yeah.
But all these things are important so that we can have a national thrust on saving the next generation.
Yes. So what I'm hearing is that we need a comprehensive approach. It's
Yes.
not about one entity, because sometimes you look at it and you said, okay, the government, or we say the NGO, but we have to all come together for the common goal. The government has to work with the NGOs has to work with the communities, the families, the church. We all have to come together because this is a problem. And you see, we have to address the white elephant in the room. This is a problem that has been affecting and will continue to affect us in every sphere in society, every area. Because when we have addicts, it means that we don't have the kind of development we are supposed to have as individuals. It means that you would have wasted a lot of times. And it's worth mentioning here that about a month ago, I interviewed 2 recovering addicts. And the gentleman told me he lost his entire family. His family migrated to the States because they just couldn't handle it. Daddy drinks too much. Daddy smokes too much. He cannot handle it. We have to leave him. And he was left alone. Another young lady, she said she's now in her 50s and she has never had a meaningful relationship. She has never had a job. And now she's thinking, it's too late for me now. Chances are I may never meet someone again in my life. And it says that so much time has been lost when that person and these families could have brought themselves to such a much higher level and standard. And it just goes to show that when we refuse to deal with the issues and the problems, that it becomes a huge problem for the community. It becomes a burden even on the government.
That's right.
And we have to take that into consideration. But just before we go on, we're going to take another short break and we'll be right back. The conversation is going interesting. We still don't have enough time, but we're going to try to make it work. Stay with us.
If you're wondering where to find top-tier quality tiles and products to refurbish or renovate your wall, floor, or pool, well, your worry is over. Come to DCell's Tile and Ceiling Center, Store Bay Local Road, opposite the Bonnecourt Primary School, Tobago, where you will find porcelain, mosaic, and ceramic tiles of the highest quality guaranteed. DCell's Tile and Ceiling Center also stocks thinset, grout, tile cutters, and yes, windows. Plus, a friendly smile and service that's second to none awaits you. So forget the hassle and get all the quality tiles you need right here in Tobago at DCell's Tile and Ceiling Center. Call us today at 460-8802, 639-8281. Opens Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m.
Do you need electrical and plumbing supplies from construction to finish? Then check out Voodoo's Enterprises Limited, Milford Road, Canaan, Tobago. Get LED bulbs and fixtures, septic tanks, water pumps, laminate flooring, press cut power tools, and so much more. Open Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. Call 280-2050 or 660-4970. Boodoo's Enterprises Limited.
Welcome back to Transforming Lives One at a Time. Well, Garth and Natasha, one fact has been established is that drug abuse is a global phenomenon affecting every aspect of society. I think we can all agree. Is it as a society that we have attributed drug use and excessive drinking with our culture? As you know, most event one attends, alcohol is being served. And I think it's only a matter of time before they have a layout of other things. You want a little weed here, you want a little cocaine here. Probably it's already being done, but on the low. But I am thinking it's a possibility that we may reach that point if it is that we don't take this thing seriously and give it the kind of attention that it deserves. So tell us, because I think it's only like the church events that you attend that you don't see punching and all this alcohol being served. Is it that it's just our culture and it's just okay and we just allow it to pass? Tell us. Real talk.
Real talk. It's yes, it has been a part of our culture, but there hasn't been any opposing awareness and information that would counteract those negative behaviors. And also
Okay.
people are not aware of the risk that they take. Yes, alcohol is legal, but if you overconsume, that can lead to very dangerous things happening to you and to others. So I think there's a gap in terms of the information that people receive about the harms and the risks of certain drugs, whether it's
Right.
legal or not. And yes, it has become a part of our culture because we haven't been taught that this is a substance that we need to be very careful with. So
Right.
it becomes the norms. Like if you
Norms.
go to a function and you're not drinking or you decide not to drink, people will ask you if something is wrong with you.
True.
And that is that is problematic because it should not be offensive, or it shouldn't be anything strange or weird if you're not consuming alcohol or drugs, right?
Mhm. Yes. Yes, Garth. I know you're itching to weigh in on this part.
Right. So where I came from, growing up, anything, christening, even funeral, you wake, alcohol more than ever because you get
Yeah.
people that sing whole night. Um, but in the military, alcohol is very much a part of the culture. And there's always at the end of the day, remember there's the canteen, the corporals club, the officers mess. Everybody has alcohol.
Right.
There was sometimes when some commanding officers curtailed the drinking hours. But it's very much embedded in our society. I
Yes.
remember Natasha invited me to some years ago a ministry function, and there was a guy quarreling because there was no alcohol. He was actually quarreling with.
Yes.
I'm talking about angry, vexed with how you could bring me here and invite me here and no alcohol, and I'm looking at this. There was
That
one.
was my suggestion, by the way.
Right.
And the minister decided to go with it, but it was not very popular at all.
Yeah,
Wow.
you understand? And
Yes.
these folks don't understand that they have a problem because if you cannot socialize without getting drunk or
Exactly.
getting a little buzz, then you have a problem. I remember one morning too, very early, before 8 o'clock, I went to we were living in another location, and I went to the shop, and the shop, there's a bar next door, and the bar was closed. And the guy came and he wanted a shot. And all this young lady told him, I cannot access it. And he said, oh, please call him man. And he was literally close to tears. And he was on his way to
Wow.
work.
Yes.
So that's really level of dependency. And so yes, there's a serious problem in our society that
Yes.
socializing means alcoholic beverages.
Right.
If you're not a
Right.
member of a church or a church group, and when you have functions, they do expect alcohol. Everybody's
Yes.
there. But once you're not a church group and you just
They
invite
expect
people,
that.
they expect that you
Yes.
have, an old sergeant visited me one time, Sam Major, and he had to remind me, we've been sitting here like 15 minutes and no drinking come out yet.
Wow. Wow. Well, tell us, I want you to tell us from the governmental level, what policies would you like to see put in place to create a more robust support system for addicts? What would you like to see implemented?
A state-run rehab facility in the prison. Let's
Okay.
start there. To stop with the revolving door, because I could tell you, and from a survey that I had done when I went into the prison with Vision on Mission, um, 90% of people are in there for some drug-related issue. So what, and no matter how many times an individual will go before a magistrate with drug, either for drug paraphernalia or drug possession, or drinking to a point of fighting and beating up somebody, they will continue to just send them to prison for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and that they continue to do that.
Right.
So what needs to happen now is the state needs to have a rehab facility in the prison itself.
Okay.
And that now, once you can go through that rehab process for, let's say, a year, 6 months to a year, under with the premise that once you go through that, then you would not have a conviction recorded against your name when you leave the prison.
Okay.
Because that's the problem too. You send me to prison for a drug paraphernalia or one stick of marijuana. I am going to, the bigger picture is that when I decide to turn my life around, I now have a conviction or two recorded against my name. So I would
Okay.
not get a clean police certificate of good character.
Right.
And you won't believe how many people in this country are walking around with dirty police certificates of good character because of going to prison for a few months, you
Okay.
know. And so the state needs to, and the state also needs to have a state-run rehab facility that people can access if they cannot afford to pay one of these
Yes.
high-end facilities to keep their addict. The person who has a substance abuse disorder, the state must have that as part of their contribution to recovery, in for people suffering.
Yes.
And if I could just add as well, Diane, that
Yes.
um, we have already seen the government take the move of moving the National Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention Program under the Ministry of Health, where it should be,
Yeah.
because drug abuse is a health concern. However, you cannot have an agency that is responsible for prevention first and foremost, that is not represented on any social media platform, that does not have any awareness campaigns in mainstream media.
Okay.
Who are you talking to? Who are you reaching? You must be able to have that kind of presence on the mainstream and social media in order to get the messages that we want young people especially to
Of
get.
course. Of
So we
course.
we in the right lane, but we driving real slow. You
Okay.
know what I mean on this point?
So the pace needs to be picked up because I mean the
Yes,
average young person now, you have TikTok, you have the Instagram, you have Facebook. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to get with the times. You have to get with the
correct.
times. And if it is that we are trying to reach the younger generation, which is where this problem, we have a lot of persons
It starts.
involved in this substance abuse. It means that we have to step up the game.
And one thing the state must insist on doing too, and by sending strong messages. And then again, we just come close, but we don't implement these things. The first time you hear a bar is shut down, or a club is shut, or license revoked for allowing minors into on their premises, the first time it happens, that
Yeah,
will be a message to everybody else. Because
correct.
what they can do, they work with the police and have undercover police officers go to these clubs and just ask people for their ID. Or if you see that a club owner allowed two people to go inside, and then when you check these people, you identify yourself as police to show your ID, and they realize that they're underage, or even the driver's permit. They don't have
Right.
a driver's permit, and all. Once you can prove that a club owner allowed minors, or a bar owner sold alcohol to a minor, and you revoke their license, that is a good start. That
Right.
people will straighten up and fly right, because
Of
now they'll be afraid to sell people alcohol if they think they're underage.
of
You
course.
must start with that, and they're not doing that, and
So
that is
more accountability, more
yeah,
accountability.
yeah. And give it
Person should be held accountable for the actions. You don't just give up a license and then you allow people to do whatever they want. We
yeah.
have laws in place for those that are breaking the laws.
But
If you are sticking with by the law, you don't have a problem.
yeah.
So more accountability, I'm hearing. Well, as we begin to bring the curtains down on part two, I want to find out what uh, the program, Iron Dependency, what do you see for yourselves in the future? Where do you go from here? What is next?
Well, Natasha and I are working. We approached one corporate entity, and we are waiting on a response. I've also reached out to some officials to assist with us. If not, we're giving ourselves until, let's say, the end of this month. Remember, we still have our social media platforms, but
Yes,
we have a radio audience still that they're missing us daily, and even the online presence too. They're missing us. So
yes,
it's unfortunate though, that the state cannot see, put aside whatever issues and support something that has been helping, an institution that has been helping people of Trinidad and Tobago. We are an NGO, and we are a registered NGO, and they need to recognize that what the work that we and other NGOs are doing important, and give us a space, give us a hearing, and give us that respect that they can assist us in continuing to do the job that they, have a stake in. They should understand that
yeah.
regardless to what, that is something that they need to recognize. And it's unfortunate that they don't, so we have to cut our own way for now.
Wow. And this is after 20-year period. This is after 20-year period. This
20 plus.
program has been state funded and now that has been pulled.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Without dialogue. And that's the sad part, is that we dealing with people who should have a lot of degrees and letters attached to their names, but don't understand that dialogue is a more important way to do things, rather than just drop the axe just like that.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. It feels like we did not we were not respected for the work that we've done so far and the tangibles that we produced. It's not, but yet when you hear them speak on the outside, they pretend that they care about these issues, but they don't. In practice, they don't really show it, and that needs to change.
Yes. Well, this is also a clarion call to the private sector, the business community. I mean, at the end of the day, when we have a problem with substance abuse, these are the same people that's going to be breaking into your businesses. These are the very same people that's going to be breaking into your homes, your family members' homes. You're not going to feel safe. So if it is that Garth and Natasha, they have been doing this, listen, with passion, with heart for the past 20 years. Yes, the program has been pulled, the rug has been pulled from under them, but I think this is an opportunity for the business community, the private sector, and even the average man on the street, because sometimes we think, okay, I don't have this big set of money, but one, as we normally say, one will fill a basket. So this is an opportunity for you to take to reach out to Garth and Natasha. Let them know that you appreciate what they have been doing for the past 20 years plus, and that they need to continue doing it. So many times we look to put our monies in so many frivolous activities, things that don't benefit humanity, things that don't benefit us as mankind, things that don't contribute meaningfully to the development of our people. And I'm saying, I talk straight on this program. I talk plain. I don't push things under the carpet, under the rug, but I open out the rug and I get the garbage out. So we need to support people like Garth and Natasha. They have been doing a fantastic job. And I want to tell you, we want to thank you so much for what you have been contributing. We know it's a sacrifice. We know that many times you're taking funds from your own pocket because you want to see lives transformed. You want to see lives change. You want to see lives impacted and families are reunited with their loved ones. So just in case nobody else says it, I am saying it here on Transforming Lives One at a Time. We are very proud of you, and we are praying and trusting that the right sponsors, the right people will come on board, that you'll get helpers who will have a heart for the people and get the job done, and it will continue. So at this time, I want to give you the opportunity for your closing remark. Maybe you want to reiterate something that was said earlier in the program, or maybe something that we didn't touch on that you feel that you want resonated with our viewers today as we begin to wrap up.
Natasha?
All I can say is
Ladies first.
to our audience, we have done our part over the last 20 plus years, and we know that you are anxiously awaiting our return to the airwaves. While that may not be soon incoming, please stay tuned to our social media pages. We will be posting ever so often about what we're doing, what we engage with. Even this interview, I know that many people have engaged with it since we posted it last time. So please continue to follow us on Facebook and YouTube for what is happening with Iron Dependency going forward.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And the last word for the gentleman.
I wanna reach out to Mr. Fali Augustine in Tobago and remind him that when he was on the platform when he just started his career, that he spoke about a young man who he went to school with who is now a drug addict. And he gave his undertaking, he gave his word that he's going to be dealing with that in the future. I want to let him know that one way he could start is having a rehab facility set up in Tobago. Tobago has the ambience. If he can look at the model in St. Lucia?
Antigua, Barbuda.
Right, if you could look at that model, Crossroads Rehabilitation Center, and how it's set up, beautiful. And trust me, you're going to get a lot of foreigners coming, and that way you're going to generate a lot of revenue in US dollars. So just bear that in mind, that's where, because the addict population in Tobago has increased, and you need to do something about it. So that's my final word. And to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we are still here, and we have a big future ahead of us. Yes. And our work will continue. Nothing's going to stop it.
Definitely.
We can't do that.
You are definitely unstoppable. Well, I want to thank you so much, Mr. Garth Sinclair, and your lovely wife, Natasha Nunez, for being on the program today for part 2. I want to say on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago that we thank you for your service, your continued service, and your efforts in this critical area of treating with addicts and finding help for those affected. Well, viewers, this is how we bring the curtain down on another Transforming Lives One at a Time. Remember, wherever you have been placed geographically, make it a priority to impact as many lives as you can for the betterment of your fellow man. As usual, I leave you with the definition of transformation, which is an internal shift that brings us into alignment with our fullest potential. Hey, we've got this. See you next time. I leave you with some beautiful scenes of beautiful Tobago.